This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Ben Sears at Ben Sears on Letterboxd.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello, and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com. You can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. And you can support us on Patreon at Patreon.com/ObsessiveViewer, where you get access to a bevy of Patreon exclusive recordings and RSS feed with content recorded specifically for Patreon. We're up to like 92 different recordings, so there is a ton of content there. And so check that out, patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. And also you can buy masks that are branded with our logos at tinyurl.com/ovmasks. So check that out. Yeah, so I'm your aforementioned host, Matt Hurt, and with me today is newly anointed recurring co-host to the podcast and contributing reviewer for ObsessiveViewer.com, Mr. Ben Sears. How's it going, Ben?
Very good, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And so we didn't have a proper ceremony for your promotion to recurring co-host. But basically this is the announcement. Ben is now a recurring co-host on the podcast. And
I have my own company car, and you gave me a company credit card. Feels great.
The others might listen to this. I can't do that for everyone. No, it was funny because when I texted that to you, you said, "Does it come with a pay raise?" And then all I thought was, you're one of our patrons, so I should ask you the same question.
Yeah, that is a little conundrum.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, it is. So, but yeah, I'm super excited to have you on board officially, and so I'm excited for this new era of the Obsessive Viewer.
Same here.
Yes,
it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm super excited, and I figured that we're doing this Ebert's Great Movies list, and I want to stick to it as much as we can. It's funny because like you had mentioned like we should maybe do it like once a month, and then like I started thinking like, well, with Heartland coming up, maybe we could postpone it 1 month since we'll have a lot of Heartland stuff, but I also don't want to lose steam on it, so we'll have to see. But I guess that's a pretty good segue to Heartland. Do you want to talk about Heartland?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. So Heartland International Film Festival is running from October 8th to the 18th here in Indianapolis and the world because of COVID, it is going virtual this year. Like their Indie Shorts Festival in July, they're going to have a virtual film festival this year. And Ben, how do you feel about Heartland, and are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It looks like a really good, really fun lineup. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we should probably also mention, I'm sure you were about to, but there's going to be the drive-in screenings as well.
Yes.
Just like with Indie Film Fest. Mm-hmm. Get your cars down to the drive-in.
Right.
And Tibbs Drive-In and Conner Prairie this year.
Conner Prairie, which that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah.
So Conner Prairie is
colonial reenactment type of place.
I kept wanting to say amusement park, but that's not it. It's like a colonial, like, what do you say? Reenactment.
Yeah.
I almost said cosplay there. Jeez. Anyway, so they're having like a drive-in experience for Heartland, and I'm looking forward to checking that out. A couple of key dates that I'm excited to share regarding Heartland. Opening night is October 8th at Tibbs Drive-In. They're going to be screening Eat Wheaties, a movie that is opening the film festival. Really looking forward to that one. Do you know much about it?
No, other than it's got Tony Hale.
Yes.
So I'm on board just for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. I have it on good authority that it is good. And that, especially with the times we live in now, it's a good, lighthearted kind of experience. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. Again, that's Thursday, October 8th at 7 p.m. at Tibbs Drive-In on the west side here in Indianapolis. And then a few other key dates. They're having drive-in nights pretty much every night of the festival. Every night of the festival. So I'm not going to run through all of them. However, I will say that Friday night at Tibbs Drive-In, there's a documentary at 9:30 called 76 Days. Is this on your radar, Ben?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very much eager to check this out. It's basically about the coronavirus, the COVID-19 outbreak. Set in the early days of COVID-19 outbreak, this raw and intimate documentary captures the struggles and human resilience in the battle to survive the pandemic in Wuhan, China. Very eager to check that out. And,
yeah, I heard really good things about it from it was at, I want to say, Toronto, and a couple of critics that I listened to have said some pretty good things about it. So,
very cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm definitely looking forward to that. And then at Conner Prairie on October 14th, they're having a double feature that's a throwback feature of Hitchcock. So they're having a screening of Rear Window and Vertigo. At Conner Prairie. I'm very excited about that too. Yeah. I
don't know why, but I feel like those two movies in particular of Hitchcock's would be really fun at a drive-in.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree. And especially Rear Window, like that is just such a beautiful, beautiful movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to hopefully checking that out. One of the good, I don't want to say one of the good things about this year, but one of the kind of bright spots or the silver lining of this year's Heartland is that since it's at drive-ins, like I don't have to take time off of work to attend the festival, even though I loved doing that, like taking in a day off and just going to the theater and spending all day there, seeing like 3 or 4 movies and talking to people. Like I was thinking about that the other day. First of all, I'm bummed that I can't go back to the theater. I won't go back to the theater until I feel safe going back to the theater. Not today, but recently I thought, like, given the state of the world and the state of the pandemic, I could see myself going until March without feeling like confident enough to go back to the theater, which is insane to me that it will be 1 year before, 1 year from the last time I was in the movie theater to projecting when I would be comfortable going back.
Right.
Which is a bummer. But, like, I was talking to some friends of mine about Heartland, and I was like, I mean, literally, like, covering Heartland Film Festival is one of the high points of my entire year, every year. Like, I love going to the festival. I love taking I love doing the, like, press junkets and stuff that they do, and, like, really, challenging myself in terms of, talking to filmmakers, because I feel like I'm, like, really out of my element when I do that. But it's, like, a blast. It's a rush and everything, and, like, this year it's completely, like, different and not going to be that same experience, which is, it's a bummer, but I'm happy that they're doing something and that they are putting together something that I think is going to be, at the very least, a very unique experience for people who who go to Heartland every year. So,
right.
Yeah.
That being said, there are, if people are interested, they are going to have Q&As and panels for different I don't know exactly how it works, if it's specific films or just like a slate of films. But they have on their website, different Q&As that you can sign up for or attend.
Oh yeah. And that's another kind of interesting thing about this different type of experience for film festivals, because like I checked out some of Indie Film Fest, which happened in July, and so one thing that I think is really interesting is that when they do those Q&As, like at a conventional film festival, you have, you're screening a film, and then at the end of it, like the people at the film festival are like, oh, hey, and we have the filmmakers here. And like I remember, I think it was last year or the year before, Kirsten and I went to Heartland, and we saw a documentary, The Bikes of Wrath. And it was a charming documentary about a group of Australian guys who were really big fans of the Grapes of Wrath, so they decided to travel to America and basically do the route that they take in the Grapes of Wrath.
Oh, okay.
But on bicycles.
Uh-huh.
And none of them were like professional cyclists or anything. And it's a really interesting documentary because the first, I think like the first few days, one of them breaks his leg. Ugh. And so the entire trip has to be like adjusted to that.
Uh-huh.
It's really interesting. But anyway, when we saw it in the theater, like we're talking like we're talking about it and everything, and then the Heartland people were like, oh, we have the filmmakers, and like it's the people that were sitting like directly behind us. And I was like thinking like, oh god, did I say anything embarrassing?
Wow.
But no, it was like those types of things. And like also I think in that same screening, like in a film festival, when you sit down in the theater and everything, like I never have this experience outside of the film festival realm, but like people will see like, okay, like see your badge or something and be like, oh, hey, what have you seen? Like just having just genuine conversations with people about it. It's really special. But yeah, so I'm kind of bummed about that, but
yeah, understandable.
Yeah. A couple other dates to keep in mind for it. There are, this year is the first year for Heartland Horror. So that's exciting. And at Tibbs Drive-In on Saturday, October 17th, they're going to be screening, some of the Heartland Horror stuff, I believe. So that's exciting. And then the closing night film is Sunday, October 18th at Tibbs Drive-In, Blythe Spirit, which sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. You've got it in front of you. Who's in that cast? I know it was someone, at least one or two people kind of notable.
Yes.
I know Dan Stevens is in it.
Yes, Dan Stevens and someone else. Like, it sounds really interesting. Hopefully the mic is not picking up the ruffling of papers. Let's see. Orange presentation.
It was on the back of one of those pages.
Yeah. Well, yes, I think. Oh, did you find it? Opening no traffic. Yes. It doesn't have the information on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Blythe Spirit is a closing night film, and that's exciting and everything. I will also mention, not to put you on the spot, Ben, but your name is in the guide as a pre-screener. So,
oh, fun.
Yeah. Just says Ben Sears. That's exciting. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
I was a pre-screener. Yeah.
Nice. So what are you looking forward to with it?
A couple of them. I don't have a fancy printed out version like you do.
Feel free to look at this. I will say that they don't have like a list of all. Well, they have a list of all the movies, but they don't have like they usually did in years past. They don't have like each individual movie with all of the stuff.
There's There's a documentary that I'm interested in called Stunt Women, The Untold Hollywood Story. Mm-hmm. Pretty self-explanatory title.
Yeah.
There's a movie with Brian Tyree Henry, who I'm a big fan of, so check that one out. It's called The Outside Story. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of a crossover between this and Indie Film Fest.
I noticed that.
Some of them I think you saw, right? It's got Hum,
which I was a big fan of. It I have a review on the website.
It's like a sci-fi horror kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's one called Minari, which is one of the virtual ones, which I don't really know much about. The description on here says, a tender and sweeping story about what roots us. Minari follows a Korean-American family that moves to a tiny Arkansas farm in search of their own American dream.
Wow.
But I know that one just because one of the critics that I follow on Letterboxd saw it, I think, at Sundance.
Okay.
And ranked it pretty high, so I'm excited to see that one.
Oh, yeah, it's animated?
No.
Oh, it's not. Okay. Wow, why did I think it was animated? Yeah, that's the virtual centerpiece screening at Heartland.
Yes. There's another documentary called MLK FBI. Which is another one that came out of TIFF and got some pretty good buzz. This one, I don't really know much about it, but it's called Picture Character. It kind of drew my eye. It says, it explores the complex, conflict-prone, and often hilarious world of the creators, lovers, and arbiters of emoji, our world's newest pictorial language.
That hadn't crossed my radar. That's really interesting.
Yeah, another virtual one. So
yeah.
But yeah, lots of, we talked about this, I think, last time, whenever we talked about, Indie Film Fest.
Yeah.
Sleaze Lake, the one about the gathering of the vans.
Yeah.
That one, I think, it might be playing at one of the drive-ins at some point, but it's definitely a virtual screening. So, if you can't go see it there, then it's here. Online. So I'll probably check that one out. I didn't get a chance to see it at Indie Film Fest.
Me neither. So I'm definitely interested in checking that one out as well. And it's one of the Indiana Spotlight movies. So they have Sleaze Lake, Van Life at its lowest and best. They have Hum, which we talked about, and they also have What Lies Inside, Worth the Wait, Head to Head, and Generation Growth. I don't have their information off the top of my head. In front of me, but
okay.
But yeah, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we are planning on hopefully the website having a lot of coverage because we do have access to some screeners. So my hope is that we'll flood the website with a bunch of reviews. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So, I have some ridiculous, ambitious plans for our coverage this year. Which includes multiple podcast episodes and a whole bunch of written reviews. So hopefully we can pull that off.
And anyone that doesn't hold up their end of the bargain gets their recurring co-host title stripped.
Exactly. Exactly. It's funny. I had mentioned to Tiny in I think the Patreon recording last time. I was like, "Hey, do you mind if I bump Ben up to recurring co-host?" And he's like, "Yeah, absolutely." And then I was like, "Good, okay, I've got one signature. I need to get the rest." But yeah, it was a majority. Everyone signed off.
Good,
yeah, except for one outlier. I won't say who, but
we all know who it was.
He may be hiding under the bed right now.
Oh.
Pizza, not Kirsten. I should make that clear.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. She could be hiding under bed. I don't Yeah, it's interesting. This is a tangent, but, I actually hung out with Kirsten for like the first time since June, because of COVID and everything. And we watched The Invisible Man, which is currently on HBO Max now. It just got to HBO Max. And I had watched it in February, and I had like some ridiculous complaints about it. And then Fecus and I recorded an episode about it, but then the audio was like lost, which was a bummer. But yeah, watching it again now, like I was really into it. Like all of the problems I had with it were just kind of like washed away. Did you ever check out?
I haven't yet, but
Okay.
yeah, I saw that it just got there on HBO Max, so fingers crossed I'll get to watch it before the end of the year.
Nice.
I've heard almost all good things about it. So.
Yeah. I think I was one of the outliers. Like, cause, and like, I liked it.
Oh. Was that The Invisible Man?
I think so. They weren't knocking on this wall, were they? No, I don't think so. I hope not. I don't know. Screw it.
Were you knocking on this wall? Knock twice if yes.
Okay, good. Anyway, so, but yeah, I liked it, and I like read over my review again, and I was like, yeah, the complaints I had were like kind of pretty unfounded. But I'm proud of the content, like the writing of it. So
sure,
yeah, I don't know, but anyway, so that's my anecdote for that. Do you have anything else to say about Heartland?
No, I don't think so. Although, kind of like with Indie Film Fest, like since I was a screener, one of the perks was to get access to the like a free pass. So I think I don't know exactly how it works, but I think I can gift I can gift a voucher to someone if I want to. So if someone wants to, screen a film on there, one of the virtual films, it's not good for the drive-in.
Right.
But if someone wants to screen a film but doesn't have the cash, just hit me up and let me know, and I'll gift it to you.
Nice. And you can find Ben at, I don't know what your address is. Yes.
Ben Sears Photo on Instagram.
There you go.
We'll just say that.
Yeah. Or Ben Sears on Letterboxd.
Sure.
Yeah. Or just email me and I'll get it to Ben. Yeah. You know where to find me. Anyway. Let's see what, yeah, I think, just in another kind of brief thing about that, Heartland is using the same, kind of apparatus that Indie Film Fest used for their virtual stuff. So it's called Eventive.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had no problems at all with Indie Film Fest's, use of it. So like the technology is like really good and, really cool. And I think, I completely got sidetracked because I was talking about the Bikes of Wrath. My point, to circle back to that, is that when you're at a film festival in person, like, okay, they're in an auditorium and you have the filmmakers that will come down and they'll have a Q&A and everything. You get like maybe 15, 20 minutes before it's, they have to wrap it up because another screening and everything. And then a lot of times, like if you have like a lot of different screenings that you're going to, you don't get to sit, like you don't have time to watch the Q&A. But the cool thing about the virtual stuff, and this is something that was really neat with Indie Film Fest, is that given the fact that it's all virtual and everything, they have that time to pad it out. So like I watched Hum at Indie Film Fest, which is at Heartland this year under
Heartland Horror.
Heartland Horror, yep. And I watched it at home for Indie Film Fest, and then I right after that I watched the Q&A that they did, which was I think earlier in the festival, but it was archived. And I mean, they had like a full hour to talk about the movie, and it was really cool because all of the like content, like it was all well thought out, like questions and everything, and they had viewer questions in the chat from when they were live with it. And like, it was just really, really a unique experience to be able to watch a movie at a film festival and then have the time, have such an expanded amount of time to just kind of like listen to the creative people behind it talk about it at such a long length. So it was really cool. I really like that, and I hope that means that Heartland's going to have that same kind of freedom in terms of their Q&As and panels and stuff.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Yep. Yeah. So I think that we'll talk more about Heartland when it comes. So again, that's October 8th to the 18th. You can get vouchers and passes and everything now. They're on sale. Go to heartlandfilm.org. And I'm looking forward to the coverage that we're going to be doing. Do you plan on writing reviews for Heartland?
I hope so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I know I did. I did a couple last year. Mm-hmm. So, I'll hopefully.
Did you do, was it called Go Back to China?
Yes.
Did you review that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think there's a movie in Heartland this year that is, I don't think it's by the same writer and director, but I think the writer and director of Go Back to China is like an actress in the movie.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah, let me find what it is, because that's going to bother me. Oh, no. It's one of the actresses from the movie.
Okay.
Lin Chen. She is in, I think so. Hi, Pizza. Maybe she's not. Oh, okay. There we go. Okay. So she also did additional voices in Ghost of Tsushima. But anyway, she is in a movie called I Will Make You Mine, which is at Heartland.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 3 women wrestle with life's difficulties while confronting their past relationships with the same man.
That's fun.
Yeah, and she stars in it, and she's also the director and writer.
Okay.
Also, it is also available on Amazon Prime. So yeah, I think that's like the only Heartland movie that's also available to stream on Amazon Prime. But yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. We'll talk more as the weeks pass by. So, Ben, are you ready to get into our main event?
Yeah,
okay.
Let's do it.
No name is more synonymous with film criticism than Roger Ebert's.
Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world. Millions of despairing men, women, and children.
People say, do film critics have too much power?
For those who can hear me, I say, do not despair.
We can help a movie. We can help a movie by sharing our enthusiasm. We can't necessarily hurt a movie that is destined to be a big hit anyway.
You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure.
And then Roger Ebert gets up.
What I find very offensive and condescending about your statement is nobody would say to a bunch of white filmmakers, how could you do this to your people?
Let us all unite!
So, we are going to be continuing today on the podcast. We're continuing our series on Ebert's Great Movies List, which is a list of like 370 some odd movies that Roger Ebert, famed critic, deemed great in a series of essays that he wrote over the course of several years of his career. The quote that accompanies the Ebert's Great Movies List is, "One of the gifts of a movie lover can give another is the title of a wonderful film they have not yet discovered. Here are more than 300 reconsiderations and appreciations of movies from the distant past to the recent past, all of movies that I consider worthy of being called great." So, the idea behind this series is that Ben and I are each picking one movie from the list, and then doubling up reviews for each segment or each installment of this project for the podcast. So, as such, we have selected this time The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari from 1920 and 8.5 from 1963. So, as is customary in these episodes, this is part 3 of it.
Yeah.
And where was I? I just got distracted with an email. I'm sorry.
You were starting the podcast.
I was starting the podcast. Yes. So this is Matt Hurt. Just kidding. So, okay. Yeah. So we are going to dive in. So this time, this is installment number 3 of our Great Movies List project.
Yep.
Last time we reviewed, was last time Tokyo Story and Network?
Yes.
Yes. And so this time, first up from 1920, as is customary, we're going chronologically in the pairings. So, Ben, your selection was The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Yep.
So tell me, Ben, how did you come to refresh the audience as to why you chose this movie?
Really, I knew nothing about this. I just my last couple picks were just kind of random. So this one I just figured, like I went on the website and just searched by year, and this movie is now 100 years old. So, and I believe it's the only one from that year.
That sounds right.
So that's really the only reason. Plus, I mean, I'm a fan of silent films, so I wanted to kind of expand my horizons with that.
Nice. And I was very interested to watch this movie. So just a plot summary, courtesy of Letterboxd, actually, is Francis, a young man, recalls in his memory the horrible experiences he and his fiancée Jane recently went through. Francis and his friend Alan visit the cabinet of Dr. Caligari, an exhibit where the mysterious doctor shows the somnambulist Caesar, I don't know how they pronounce it because it's silent.
Caesar, maybe?
Caesar, sure. And awakens him for some moments from his death-like sleep. This movie was directed by Robert Wine, and was released in 1920. It is celebrated as perhaps one of the first, if not the first, horror movie.
Yeah.
Which is appropriate because we're on the cusp of October. I think this episode will be released before or probably early, like next week. So in October. So Ben, in non-spoilers, as we are normally want to do here, how'd you feel about the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari?
I was really impressed with it. The first thing that will come out at you watching this is the production design, which is just insane, and it's just it really just helps to set a tone for like what you're watching. If you've never seen it before, it's like it's this kind of like surreal, there are no right angles almost. Just everything is at a slant, everything is painted weird. It's just a really bizarre, unique look for this kind of story. So that was what really stuck out to me and what I'll probably remember for a while about this. The story I thought was pretty interesting. I don't know. I guess by modern standards, it's not really a horror movie.
Right.
But I can see how back then it probably would have been just groundbreaking and frightening almost.
Totally.
There is some easy, like a sense of dread to a lot of it, especially like this kind of Frankenstein type monster guy, Caesar, who just kind of lurks about, and he, if I remember right, like he's a lot taller than everyone else, or right?
Yeah, he's a lot of the shots of him are, well, at least I remember from his position in like his coffin, is like he's of a tall stature. Yeah. The way it's shot is definitely highlighting that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just, the way that he stands out was just really, just helped to highlight just this weird kind of place and time.
Yeah. Something that I really, really appreciated about it is like we said, it came out in 1920. It really feels like it is like my Letterboxd review, it just had like a little blurb on it. But what I wrote on Letterboxd was it's like watching the blueprint for an entire genre of film.
Oh yeah.
And it's really mesmerizing in that case. Like, it is, like, I don't know much of anything about German expressionism, which I guess is what this kind of really jump started.
Yeah.
But it has such a distinct style. And to your point about like the right angles and everything, or the not right angles, and slanted camera movements and all that, the set design also has like such an abstract kind of way about it. Like, there are so many shots of like a room or something where the design or the patterns on the floors and the walls are all like triangles and different shapes, and it creates this weird, like, surreal reality that you're in. And this, I actually read Ebert's essay. And he talks about that and how it's just very engaging in terms of bringing audiences into this world. And I totally agree with that. And I kind of feel like it also feels so much like a precursor to like the universal monsters like Dracula and Frankenstein. And also I don't know I don't know how much of that is silent film, like the silent film era, or if it's directly influenced by the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Like, the shots of the somnolentist, oh my god,
somnambulist.
Somnambulist, kind of attacking and in a threatening way, just really just made me think of Bela Lugosi as Dracula. It is so evocative of that. And Dracula, like, that version of Dracula came a decade after Caligari. So I thought that was really, really fascinating, that kind of comparison. Or that. Yeah.
I didn't realize this when I was watching it, but it really, like, the one that I think is more well known from this, like, German expressionist is Nosferatu.
Yeah.
But this predated that. So, which is another one that we'll be talking about eventually.
Yep. And it predated it by, I think, like 2 years.
Yeah. So I'm curious how much Nosferatu was influenced by this.
Me too.
Yeah. Just, I could see so many influences coming from this, like, you know, like you were saying, just pretty much any, like, monster movie, any kind of, like, slasher movie, any kind of, like, a psychological horror kind of thing.
Yeah.
'Cause there are elements to that with the doctor and, the story of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the design, or I don't know how much of this is just the actor that played the doctor, but the way that his eyes, like, bulged out, was just, like, I could see being in 1920 and just like being, like, kind of taken by that, or really letting that kind of fester as a piece of horror.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? It's not just the set designs. Like, there's a couple shots early on where it's closer up on people's faces, and you can definitely see, like, the makeup that they do on them is just so over the top and more expressive. So that was just another element to it. There's, like you were saying, there's, I think when you look at Ebert's review, it's like the banner image, and it stuck out to me when I was watching it, where the monster is, like, carrying away the girl.
Yeah.
And he's, like, escaping, and he's, like, walking along, like, some rooftops. And it's the way that these rooftops are designed, it's almost like it's like a flat path kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's clearly meant to look like a rooftop. And it just the winding, kind of jagged design of that was just really fascinating. It really stuck out to me.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the work of MC Escher. Yeah. I couldn't remember MC Escher's name, so I just quickly Googled crazy stairs. But yeah, it's really incredible, like, art design for the sets and everything, and it all kind of brings it to a point where it is creating this world that is surreal and strange, which is, when I was watching, because I watched this one after I watched 8.5, and we'll talk more about this when we talk about 8.5, but I was like sitting there thinking, like, just the luck of us just randomly picking these two movies that are so surreal and, like, off the beaten path in terms of the presentation and the world that they're creating.
Dreamlike almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I really liked that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We forgot to mention that it is available to stream on Amazon Prime and also on Canopy.
Yep.
And Hoopla, which also the
okay.
Yeah. How did you watch it on Canopy or Amazon Prime?
Well, no, I watched it on Amazon because I was able to download it to my phone.
Nice.
There. So
nice.
Yeah.
I watched it on Amazon Prime also, and I thought it was funny that they had the little Mill Creek Entertainment, like, watermark on it.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
Funny. Yeah. I don't know if we really need to do a spoiler.
No, probably not.
For this. It's only like an hour and 6 minutes.
Yeah, real quick. So it's a real easily digestible piece of work, for people who are kind of wary of silent film or who are not really all that experienced with it.
Yeah.
It's a pretty easy entry point. I mean,
I agree.
The one weird thing is there's later in the film there are a couple, like, what are they called, title cards or quote cards, where it's like it's just this big block of text in cursive and it's not really filmed all that well.
Yeah.
So
like, I couldn't read what those aren't like the title, like the speech cards or anything. It's like in the film, it's like they're looking over notes and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I was like, I don't even know if I can attempt to read
I hope this isn't too important because I couldn't even imagine, like, even in 1920 being able to read that.
Yep. But they do hold on it for a little while, but it's like, yeah. So yeah, any other thoughts on the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari?
I can't really think of much, no. Okay. I mean, it's great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Would this go on your great movies list?
Honestly, I don't know. I think it's definitely stands a chance. I think it could definitely make a great movies list for me on the grounds of its influence and the historical impact of the movie. I think I will say that it is definitely a movie that I could see myself revisiting, and analyzing further and really enjoying even more.
Yeah.
So a tentative yes for my great movies list. How about you?
I agree. Yeah. I think it would be on the first draft. I mean, I'm trying to remember now. I've only seen a couple Charlie Chaplin movies, and I've seen one Buster Keaton movie and one D.W. Griffith movie. Not that one.
Not that one? Okay, good.
But other than that, I don't think I've seen any others. So this one, I would say yes, just to, I mean, I love all of Charlie Chaplin's movies that I've seen so far.
Me too.
But I would put this one on here just like you were saying, for its influence, but also like for a little variety in terms of silent films. I take that back. I have seen, I'm blanking on the director's name right now. It's called Sunrise.
Oh, I've heard about that.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that one.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I've heard incredible things about that.
Yes.
Huh. Nice. So are you saying that you give it a thumbs up?
Correct.
Nice. And me too. So this is like the 5th movie in the series, all thumbs up from us, which is understandable. Great movies, but yeah. So yeah, that's our review of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. And I just realized what I want to do for when we pick our next ones. And I'm really excited about it, but I'm going to save it for after 8.5.
Okay.
And I'm kind of curious if maybe you have the same thought. We'll see.
We'll find out.
Yes.
Stay tuned, listeners.
Yes. So that is our review of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. It is available once again on Canopy and Amazon Prime. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and move on to our second review for this episode of our Ebert's Great Movies list. Here is a piece of the stinger that we have for that to break up the things, which is now me calling attention to it, breaking it up is now making it kind of pointless. Anyway.
Well done.
Here we go.
This movie goes through some pretty predictable paces about their forbidden love, but I was never really very interested in the characters in Blade Runner. I didn't find it convincing. Instead, what impressed me in this film were the special effects, the wonderful use of optical trickery to show me a gigantic, imaginary Los Angeles, which in the vision of this movie has been turned into sort of a futuristic Tokyo. Great performance, and Fargo is the best movie the Coen brothers have ever made. A quirky, infectious...
Okay, so 8.5. I did not read the essay for this one, but I will go ahead and read the plot summary and everything. So 8.5 is from 1963. It's directed by Federico Fellini. The plot summary is, according to Letterboxd, is Guido Anselmi, a film director, finds himself creatively barren at the peak of his career. Urged by his doctors to rest, Anselmi heads for a luxurious resort, but a sorry group gathers: his producer, staff, actors, wife, mistress, and relatives, each one begging him to get on with the show. In retreat from their dependency, he fantasizes about past women and dreams of his childhood. Now, I selected this one for our for this segment or this installment because on a couple of reasons. For a couple of reasons. One, I had never seen a Fellini movie.
Okay.
And two, because Criterion had just announced that they are having they're releasing a box set of the essential Federico Fellini in honor of his 100th birthday. So they are releasing that in November, I think, or maybe October, but it includes a bunch of his movies, and I don't know if I can justify buying it, but I wanted to watch at least one of his movies just to get a sense of the type of filmmaker he is. And so, on that note, before I get into my kind of broad thoughts on it and everything, Ben, had you ever seen this movie?
No.
Okay. Had you ever seen a Fellini movie?
No.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to talking about it. So, in kind of broad terms, and my initial reaction to it is that this movie really blew me away.
Oh, yeah.
It is one of the most gorgeous movies I've ever seen. Like, from a lighting perspective, from filmmaking perspective, from the way that it creates this anxiety through the camera by having all of these, moving pieces in every scene to just show, this story of this filmmaker experiencing, anxiety over his craft and over his life. And the way that it plays out in this rich, tapestry of just craziness, to the point where I felt I'd struggled with figuring out what's real, what's not real, what is he fantasizing about, what is reality in this,
what's a flashback and what's actually happening in real time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I was just really, really taken with it. And by the way, it is streaming on Criterion Channel as well as HBO Max.
And Canopy.
Yep. And, so Ben, how did you feel about 8.5?
Yeah, I agree. I really blew me away. Nice. Like I said, I had never seen a Fellini movie before this, or between our last recording and this one.
Right.
So kind of as homework, I wanted to watch a couple of his other ones to see how this one compared. I watched La Strada and I watched La Dolce Vita.
Nice.
I think both of those are on the list. I know La Dolce Vita is.
I want to say La Strada is too.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
One thing we can talk about later is the Ebert website's crappiness when trying to look up things like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched those two, and yeah, 8.5 is very different from those two.
Okay.
In a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
There are some similarities, but it's a lot more surreal. It's a lot more dreamlike. It feels a lot more personal.
Mm-hmm.
I guess obviously because it's about a director trying to make a movie, and so this main character is clearly a stand-in for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would 100% agree. It is a very beautiful movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to narrow down the shots that just blew me away, or that will stick with me for a while. That is a difficult task. There's the shot. I love this one. It's like one of the very first things where, I mean, just the opening just will hook you instantly.
I was gonna say, yeah.
It's in like a traffic jam under a tunnel, and it's completely silent. And then all you hear is him breathing, and he's like suffocating inside this car. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden he's like floating up, holding onto a balloon. And then you get this amazing, like, I don't even know how they did it.
Right.
This amazing POV shot, looking down while he's floating up in the air. And then he's like, someone is holding a rope to his leg, and they pull him down, and he falls down to water.
Yes.
And it just,
breathtaking.
Yeah.
Like that whole sequence is, and it is incredible, because like I went into it thinking, I don't know what I was thinking about it, but I knew that it was about kind of a guy trying to retreat from his life, essentially. I did not expect it to be so ephemeral and dreamlike.
Yeah.
So that opening scene, like it made me think a lot of like the Twilight Zone, because like those people in the traffic jam with him are like looking like it specifically reminded me of the episode from season 1 of the original Twilight Zone called Elegy, but all of the people in the other cars are just staring at him and not moving or anything, which is kind of the plot of Elegy. But it's so evocative of what he's going through just right from the outset. It's like, okay, this is a man who is experiencing like some heavy anxiety and personal crisis and crisis of identity and everything. And it's demonstrated so beautifully and visually in this opening sequence. And that just, like you said, it just reels you into what is a ride that does not let up.
Yeah.
And I've got to commend Criterion Channel, by the way, because Criterion Channel, when it first launched, I had a lot of problems with the UI of it in terms of casting videos or casting from my phone to my TV with my Chromecast, which was really the only option that I had other than watching it on my laptop, and still the only option I really have and everything. So, but somehow it changed, because when Criterion Channel first launched, like it used some kind of video, like whatever, like UI that's from Vimeo, but every like few seconds it would skip, or like it would buffer, and it was like unwatchable. So I went a long time without really watching anything on Criterion Channel. But now I have no problems with it.
Okay.
And the picture quality is pristine and everything, so it's really good. And that's one thing that just blew me away was the picture quality in 8.5. Like, it is one of the most striking movies I've ever seen.
Yeah. It's like almost every shot just feels purposeful and
absolutely
like there's an artistry behind almost every shot.
Yep.
And one of the essays that Ebert wrote, I don't know exactly what the reception was to it at the time, but he kind of quoted one negative review and said that this person was saying that like Fellini is more focused on images than ideas in this. And I mean, Ebert's point was how like that's not necessarily a bad thing because movies are a visual medium,
right.
And these images are stunning.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's the ideas there are very well thought out and just really meaningful as well. It definitely feels like a personal kind of essay almost on the creative process and just what that is like.
Absolutely. And something that I kind of thought about or kept finding myself thinking about as the movie was going on was how much I feel like Charlie Kaufman, I feel like may have used the techniques or the kind of the what's the word I'm looking for? The kind of the style of this movie as influence on his take on I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which just hit Netflix recently.
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah, I got that same vibe, and I was like, that would be an interesting double feature.
I think to that point, I think I haven't seen a whole lot of Charlie Kaufman's movies. Either as a writer or director, but from what I remember, I feel like Kaufman is a little more like bleak in his outlook, and this is a lot more, not necessarily positive, but it's definitely not as bleak, you know.
It's more. I definitely get what you're saying. It kind of feels like more of a journey rather than like being grounded in cynicism. So like, it has this cynicism in it, but I feel like the character is like there's room for growth that the character goes throughout the movie. Whereas like with like Charlie Kaufman's approach, it kind of feels like it's a little bit rooted in that kind of cynicism and inescapable cynicism. Right. Arguably or potentially inescapable. Which by the way, I just because I couldn't remember if you'd seen I'm thinking of ending things yet, but I looked on Letterboxd and your review, your little blurb on that was great. It's take that, Robert Zemeckis, which I appreciated that. I just can't get over just the visuals of 8.5 and. It explores the movie explores the character's kind of history and his relationships and everything. And I'll admit wholeheartedly, I found myself at various points kind of being a little lost in the weeds. Like I couldn't keep straight who was who and what the relationships were. So I do need to go back and revisit it and watch it again. But I was really stricken by the kind of overall emphasis of like what these interactions and these character dynamics mean for him as a person. Right. Yeah. One part I thought was just really out there and crazy was the harem sequence. Yeah. Which I thought was really like, it was beautifully done and incredible, but it was like, it felt like just really just crazy to me and like in a good way. So.
Right. I I believe I know what you're talking about, where he's surrounded by all the women in his life.
Yeah.
And
the one is aging out.
Right. Yeah. That is definitely a pretty memorable sequence. Yeah. I would also like to watch this again. Not only, like you were saying, to try and nail down the relationships and who these other characters were, but just it almost, I don't know, maybe this is kind of a cliche, but it feels kind of like a puzzle almost, where there's just something more that, you know, that I feel like I can discover or understand better on a second viewing. I feel,
it feels like something that you can't get all of the nuance of it from a single viewing.
Yeah.
I do want to mention, I had tweeted about Criterion Channel, and my cat is disruptive. So I tweeted about Criterion Channel and everything, and friend of the show, Michael Goldberg, commented on it, and I had a nice little Twitter conversation with him. So basically I mentioned I need to use Criterion Channel more, and he said it's worth it. And then I had mentioned currently watching 8.5 for the first time, incredible, and he said yes, one of my all-time favorites. And then I mentioned that it's the first Fellini movie, and he said great intro, he's amazing, and he recommended that I check out Toby Dammit and Amarcord, and also Fellini's Roma. So those are definitely now on my radar.
Okay.
And, and I know, okay. And, okay. So also Michael Goldberg, he is going to be on, this is going to go up before that, but tomorrow, Wednesday, September 23rd at 8 p.m. Eastern, he's going to be on a panel for, or live Q&A and everything for, titled In Real Life, Director Michael Goldberg. It's a free live stream Q&A of his award-winning, film Surefire, which he also has a podcast about, Surefire. So check that out. I'm sure it'll be archived. I guess it's being put on by Soapbox Gallery, I think. But yeah, I'll put a link in the show notes and everything.
Nice.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anything else stand out on 8.5?
What did you think about the whole spaceship thing?
The second that I saw the big set piece of the scaffolding and everything, I mean that was one of the most awestruck moments I had in the movie.
Yeah, that blew me away. Just to think about how much time and probably money went into just building that.
Yes. Oh yeah. And it looked just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
I just before they actually showed it, there were a couple times when people were referencing this spaceship that he was building, and it just felt like such a funny little throwaway kind of thing about this serious director who's building a spaceship in his next movie.
Yeah.
And it almost kind of felt like a dig at sci-fi, but
yeah,
I don't know.
As a fan of science fiction, I definitely felt a little slighted. But yeah, I did get that vibe too. Yeah.
I just want to mention, I didn't look this up until after our last recording. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar at all with the Sight and Sound poll?
I'm familiar with Sight and Sound as a concept. I know that they have
well, sight and sound are two of the senses of all humans. But anyway.
Nice. But yeah, I'm familiar with it. I know that they have it's one of the lists that are on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
It's Sight and Sound. I don't know what the name of the list is or if it has a specific name. But anyway, yeah. Is it a magazine or?
Yeah, I think so. It's I think it's, published in the journal's September. The Wikipedia article I'm reading is from September 2012.
Okay.
But it's published by the British Film Institute.
Oh, gotcha.
So every 10 years since 1952, they put together the greatest movies of all time list.
Wow.
And it's based on critics, programmers, academics, and distributors. And there's also a separate directors list based on 358 directors and filmmakers. Wow. So I didn't look this up, like I said, until after the last recording that we did, but the most recent one was from 2012. Number 1, Vertigo.
Okay, nice.
Number 2, Citizen Kane. Number 3, you want to guess what it is?
I'm going to guess Little Nicky.
Close.
Okay.
Tokyo Story.
Oh, really?
Number 3, yeah.
Oh, nice.
And we don't have to go through every single one of them, but number 10 is 8.5.
Nice.
And then the director's list from 2012, number 1, Tokyo Story.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, pretty great.
Very cool.
Number 4, 8.5.
Nice.
So number 1, Tokyo Story. Number 2, 2001.
Nice.
I guess it was a tie because this says number 2, Citizen Kane. Number 4, 8.5.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Very cool. Well, worth it, I would say.
Yeah. I can see why this is so widely beloved by critics.
Absolutely. And I could see, I know that I'm going to hopefully make this a priority at some point, but if you have Criterion Channel, it does have 8.5 has a commentary track available on Criterion Channel, so I'm going to definitely check that out. And it also has a bunch of little segments with filmmakers. So like they have like I think Rian Johnson does one, but they have like little like conversations with filmmakers where they just talk about what the movie means to them. And I mean, I was looking at the list and it was like there is a plethora of content on 8.5. So Rian Johnson, Paul Feig, Michael Cunningham, Terry Gilliam, a bunch of people.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and there's also a documentary about Fellini on there.
Okay.
So,
there's a documentary on Canopy about Fellini that I tried watching.
Okay.
And I don't know. It wasn't really a documentary. It was like this like reenactment of his early life. I don't know. It was kind of weird.
Okay.
I don't know if I'll get back to it, but it was not what I was expecting. But
okay.
I'll report back later.
Nice. So, do you know the name of it offhand?
It's called How Strange to Be Called Federico.
Oh, okay.
Let me look that up. Yeah, How Strange to Be Named Federico.
Wow.
It's on Canopy.
Okay. I just remembered a joke I was going to make about the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Dang it. Anyway, it's stupid. I'm not going to. Anyway, it's too late. So, I think it goes without saying, but Ben, great movies list. Would you put it on your own?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. And would it be a thumbs up?
Yes.
Nice. Same here. And I'm very eager to dig into more of Fellini's work.
A decent amount of his movies are available on streaming.
Yeah.
So,
and La Strada is not on the great movies list.
Oh, okay. So, this one and La Strada are on Canopy, and it says that there's 6 of his films on Canopy, but I know one of them is kind of like a anthology kind of thing, where he just directed a segment of it. And then HBO Max, I'm searching This one, like you said, is on here.
Mm-hmm.
There's 5 of his movies altogether on HBO Max.
Okay.
One of them is Armored Core, which is another one on this list.
Mm-hmm.
I think Juliet of the Spirits is as well, maybe.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Yes. From what I can gather,
again, the Ebert website is not the greatest at these kinds of things, which, like, kind of to tie it back to Tokyo Story, I think I had mentioned last time that there's only 2 of his films on the list.
Oh, yeah.
But I discovered shortly afterwards that is not the case.
Okay.
There's, like, what I say, like 5 of his movies on the list. So if anyone out there was listening and liked Tokyo Story, there are definitely more of his on this list to get to.
Yeah, and did you ever determine if his if Ozu's season movies were connected, or
I don't think I did.
Okay.
I think they are loosely related.
Okay.
I think I found out one of the actresses in Tokyo Story is in most, if not all of them. But I don't know if she plays the same character or what.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that'll do it for the review of 8.5.
Did you say? Oh, you did say if this would go on your list.
Yeah.
Are you? Will this push you over the edge to buy the Fellini box set?
I want it. I want it so badly.
Yeah.
But I can't. I don't know if I can justify the purchase. So the set is currently available to pre-order on Amazon. I think it's like a 15-disc set with 14 of his movies. By the way, you had mentioned privately to me the complete films of Agnes Varda.
Yes.
Those movies are on Criterion Channel. So,
okay.
Yeah. But the Fellini set comes out November 24th, and on Amazon you can pre-order it right now for $200.
Oh boy.
The list price is $250. So, the mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
I want it, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see closer to the release of it. Actually, I just got an idea, and it's a terrible idea. Yeah.
Another mini-series?
No. The terrible idea I got was, like, maybe I could justify buying it because next month is a 3-pay period, or 3-payday month. I don't know. We'll see.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah,
but it's not my money.
Yeah, that's true. But then again, also, I'm still going through the Godzilla set. I've got the Universal Monsters set. I've got the Ingmar Bergman set that I haven't even opened, and a plethora of other stuff. So we'll see. We'll see.
Mitch McConnell, if you're listening, number 1, fuck you. Right. Number 2, release the stimulus package so Matt can buy his Blu-rays.
That's why we need another stimulus bill or stimulus check. Oh, God. Okay. Well, anyway. So as is customary, I think we should wrap up a little bit. I don't know if we'll do a potpourri. If you want to check out our potpourri, check out Patreon. $1 per month gets you access to an exclusive RSS feed with content recorded specifically for Patreon. This time around, we did kind of a loose conversation about things that we've watched lately. So if you want to check that out, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and pledge $1 per month. So Ben, as is customary with these episodes, we will be picking our next pair of movies.
Yep.
Now, I have an idea that I just came up with midway through this. Now, I say we could still, if you go for this, we could still pick the movies, but my pitch is that at Heartland Film Festival, October 14th, at Conner Prairie, they're doing Hitchcock Night.
Okay.
Rear Window and Vertigo. Both are on the Ebert list. My pitch is maybe we go to that we see the movies, and then maybe not that same night, but another night, we record the next installment of this covering those two movies.
Oh, man.
And just for the record, I'm saying this as a single man with no kids.
Which I am not.
Yes.
I don't know if I'll be able to get there and be at Connor Prairie.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, damn.
Yeah.
That does sound fun.
Right.
What do you think?
I am totally game for it.
Okay.
But I don't want to put you out or anything. So here's what I think. We can put a pin on that idea. We can go ahead and pick our selections for next time. If it so happens that we are able to get the logistics worked out for Rear Window and Vertigo, we go ahead and do that, and then we just push the selections that we make today for the next one after that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Sure.
Awesome. Okay, so, I haven't really picked one. What is your selection for the next edition of the Ebert's Great Movies List review series on ObsessiveViewer.com or Obsessive Viewer Podcasts featuring Matt and Ben covering the Ebert's Great Movies List in its entirety, 2 movies at a time?
Is there more?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. All right. Well, it's my turn to throw you a curveball.
Okay.
So I also could not really decide. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to let you pick my pick.
Ooh, I like that. And then will you be picking my pick?
I can if you want me to.
Okay.
So I narrowed it down to a couple of these.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
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 No, I'm not. I'm too much of a control freak to
Gotcha.
let it completely slide to you.
Sure.
So I narrowed it down to, we'll say 4.
Okay.
And really the only connecting thread between these is that they're more recent movies. I wanted to do something more recent since the most recent one that we've done so far is like 1985.
Yeah,
After Hours.
Yeah.
So, okay, so here's your options.
Okay.
All right. Alexander Inarritu's Babel from 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Lost in Translation, or Mulholland Drive.
Ooh.
Matt is sweating.
Yes.
His eyes are getting red.
My arm's getting tingly.
Veins are bulging from his forehead.
Chest is tightening.
Knees weak, arms are sweaty.
Yes. Mom spaghetti. What was the first one again?
Babel.
Eternal
Sunshine, Lost in Translation, Mulholland Drive.
You know what? I am going to go with the one that I don't want to see, that I want to see the least out of that batch. And the reason why is because this is a filmmaker that I've never really connected with, and I've been I've kind of avoided his work. But I'm going to go with Mulholland Drive.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent.
David Lynch made that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay.
You know, it's funny you picked that one because I am a loyal listener and I listened to your last episode with Tiny, and I think you mentioned that you don't really care for him as a filmmaker.
Did.
So,
yes.
And I would say that I agree.
Interesting.
Sort of, from what I've seen from him, but yeah.
Nice.
Right on.
Okay.
Now for the bad news. I don't think that Mulholland Drive is streaming anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It might be on Criterion. I don't know. I know. Well, you can rent it on VOD.
Mm-hmm.
You can't buy it.
That's interesting.
But you can rent it at the library.
Yeah. Yes. And yeah, it is not available to stream anywhere, but it is available on VOD. So
Okay.
yeah. Okay. And to just directed by David Lynch from 2001. Just to give the plot summary. Should we do that? Do we do that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blonde Betty Elms has only just arrived in Hollywood to become a movie star when she meets an enigmatic brunette with amnesia. Meanwhile, as the two set off to solve the second woman's identity, filmmaker Adam Kesher runs into ominous trouble while casting his latest project. So yeah. Okay, cool. And I think I have selected mine. And let me pull it up here. I think, okay, so, I'm not going to go through a whole song and dance of why. This just caught my eye because I've never seen it. From 1991, directed by Oliver Stone, it is JFK.
Okay.
Yes. The plot summary is, this acclaimed Oliver Stone drama presents the investigation into the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, led by New Orleans District Attorney Jim Garrison. So this movie is available to stream on HBO Max as of this recording, so September 22nd, and is available on VOD elsewhere. Okay, so yeah, JFK and Mulholland Drive. Oh, this will be fun, because this will be the first time that my movie goes first.
How about that?
Yeah. All right. Well, we have
sorry in advance to the listeners, because that one I just looked up is over 3 hours long.
Yeah, it's like 3.5 hours.
Mulholland Drive is like 2.5.
Shit. Yeah, it is. Yeah, sorry guys.
Well, if we go ahead with the Hitchcock thing, it'll have extra time to prepare.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Ben, welcome officially as the as a recurring co-host on the podcast.
Thank you.
Yes. Let's see. I will be making adjustments to I'll make a thing on the website so you can see under recurring co-hosts. So anyway, I think that'll do it for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Yeah, by the way, again, check out our masks. Go to tinyurl.com/ovmasks. They're fine, but they look cool. So yeah. All right. Well, once again, I think this is the third time I've said it, or maybe fourth. That'll do it for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. And now, here's a short clip from our Patreon exclusive RSS feed. To hear the full clip and more exclusive Patreon content, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and become a patron at the minimum rate of $1 per month. Thank you and enjoy.
Yeah, so Feels Good Man is a documentary about the creator of the Pepe the Frog cartoon.
That's right.
Who started out as a character in a comic strip from this just average guy in California.
Okay.
Nothing really special about him, just kind of a weird looking frog kind of guy.
Right.
And he gets turned into a meme, and then that just evolves, and he gets turned into this symbol of like right-wing, well, alt-right, like hatred and just all these awful things that the creator just had no part in or no intention to start. And it's just a really interesting look at this guy who he created something that he was really passionate about, and then this thing got taken away from him basically without any of his control. Yeah.
Was it available to stream?
No, it's you can rent it on VOD anywhere. But I would recommend it. It's worth the price.
Nice. Yeah, it is definitely on my radar.
There's a probably 5 to 10 minute segment in that documentary where it's just, I just it just fucking blew my mind.
Really?
It was so it follows this group of people who they basically created their own cryptocurrency, but with Pepe the Frog memes.
Okay.
So they follow this guy who drives a Lamborghini and is basically a millionaire because he's made his fortune from these fucking Pepe the Frog memes. And it's so bizarre. Like they go to this auction where they auction off these memes.
Wow.
And it's just it just blew my mind. It was so bonkers, and I never saw that coming. Never would have thought that would be even a real thing. I guess maybe it's just my naivete about the internet, but like I would love to see just an entire documentary just about those people.
Oh yeah,
and their like day-to-day lives.
Jeez, I can't. Yeah, one of the letterbox reviews on it was, "What if the internet was a mistake?"
Yeah, fair question.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's cool. I have watched a few things. I don't think I'm allowed to talk about this until the second, but it'll be up by then. Anyway, Possessor. The Brandon Cronenberg movie. Is that on your radar at all?
Mm-mm.
It's not very good. I didn't really care for it. It's funny because, like, I got a press screener for it, and I actually got one for Mike because he and I were going to review it since he's all into horror and everything.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting experience for me because I went into it having not watched the trailer or knowing anything about it. And I had this like interesting like anxiety because that's one thing that I kind of don't, it's not that I like it about living in COVID times, but the fact that I'm not in the theater every week, it's like I'm not seeing trailers.
Yeah.
Like I'm not seeing like a dozen trailers a week.
Right.
So I can go into something completely blind. And so with Possessor, let me show you the cover, the poster image. It's like, it creeped me out when I saw it, and I thought, oh, this is going to be like a trippy ass horror movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen that poster before, yeah.
Okay. It's basically a kind of mask-like thing that's gross and weird.
Yeah. There's no eyes.
Yes, there's no eyes. It's like the whole face is like drooping off of it. Just, it disturbs me, but watching the actual movie, so like, it was interesting that I went into the movie not knowing anything about it, thinking like, oh, this is going to be like a big like gore fest that's going to be like super, super gross and everything, and I'm not good with that. Right. So I was kind of bracing myself for that. But no, it's a pretty dry sci-fi thriller more than horror. There are spurts of like ultra violence that is intense and like really like nearly gratuitous, but in a somewhat artistic way. But the whole movie that's wrapped around it is like an amalgam of concepts from The Matrix, Inception, and one other reference that I was going to make, but I can't pull off. Oh, The Matrix, Inception, and there was a third one. And Black Mirror. So it's basically, yeah, it's basically about a woman who is like an assassin that is hired by corporations, and they basically kidnap people from the corporation, and I don't know. Basically, she gets put into their mind, and so she controls their bodies and everything, and then sets it up so that they get killed or something like that.
Okay.
So it's this interesting like espionage thing, but it spends way too much time just focusing on her adjusting to the life of this guy that she's inhabiting. And it's like, it's just so dull and just not that engaging. And then it's like a a little bit over an hour and a half long, and about an hour into it is where the movie kind of doesn't shift, but the plot like really ramps up. And I'm like, this turn of the plot is something that should have been done like half hour into the movie to make it engaging for the rest of it. Cause I was like, oh, this is an interesting, an interesting development in the plot. And I'm like, oh, I have like 25 minutes left in this thing. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm somewhat invested now, but I kind of wish that I had an hour left of this to explore this concept.
Right. Yeah.
And so it was just kind of, it was disappointing. And then like Mike watched it, and then like we didn't set up a time to record or anything. And then a few days later I was like, so when do you want to record about Possessor? And then he's like, honestly, I don't know if I want to because it wasn't really his type of movie.
Right.
So yeah, so I don't know. I'm working on a written review of it, and we'll see.
Okay.
But yeah, it was, you might get something out of it, but I wasn't into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it Netflix or?
It is, no. It is going to have a VOD release October 2nd.
Okay.
And I don't know past that if it's going to be streaming anywhere.
Okay.
The Obsessive Viewer podcast is edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. For a full archive of our episodes, go to ObsessiveViewer.com/OV archive. You can also like our Facebook page and join the OV Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. And follow us on Twitter at ObsessiveViewer and at ObsessiveTiny. And follow our recurring co-hosts at I am Mike White, that's me, at R.A. Feckus, and at Burger_Lurker. If you enjoy the show, please take a couple minutes to leave us a rating and a quick review on Apple Podcasts. This is the easiest way to support what we do, and all it costs is a little bit of your time. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or support us on Patreon for recurring donations and access to commentary tracks and B-roll audio recorded exclusively for patrons at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or you can simply search for Obsessive Viewer at teepublic.com, T-E-E, public.com. For information about our annual live event showcasing short horror films from local filmmakers, check out shocktoberInIrvington.com. And for an archive of all our events, as well as news about potential future events, head over to obsessiveviewer.com/live. For more podcast content, you can find Anthology, Matt's solo podcast covering The Twilight Zone, and other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows at anthologypod.com and on Twitter at OVAnthologyPod. You can also find Tower Junkies, a podcast where Matt and Tiny share their love of all things Stephen King and his magnum opus, The Dark Tower series, at towerjunkiespod.com and at towerjunkiespod on Twitter. And finally, check out The Secular Perspective, Tiny's side project podcast, which tackles current events and life's big questions from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda at thesecularperspective.com. The theme music for The Obsessive Viewer comes courtesy of the band Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. Additional bumper music is provided courtesy of As Good As It Gets, which can be found at facebook.com/asgoodasitgetsband. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Kitty!